Just out of nowhere there, man. 3-4. You know what that means, Aaron?
No.
I knew you did. It's Cleveland Rocks.
Oh, Cleveland Rocks.
Because we got Nathaniel from Tomorrow's End on the line, and he's all the way from Cleveland.
Not Ohio, Dave, though.
Tennessee.
Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, Cleveland, Tennessee probably rocks too.
Does Cleveland, Tennessee rock, Nathaniel?
It can, but it can.
When he's not in a back brace, it does. All right. That's just my little joke. Cleveland Rock. I love that song. Ian Hunter going back. This guy knows what I'm talking about. Aaron's looking at me with a question mark on my face, but I can tell. I can tell Nathaniel's a rocker. Yeah, that's
the Drew Carey
that's
show?
actually the presidents of the United States doing that one. But yes, it's from Drew Carey show. But it was a song long before that.
All right.
From Ian Hunter. How you doing, Nathaniel?
I'm doing great. Overly blessed and stuff. So I'm just happy to be here today.
Very blessed, huh? There's the live studio audience for Tomorrow's Ends, Nathaniel. I'm just going to call you Nathaniel since you haven't given me a last name.
Oh, Bonner, last name, Bonner.
I didn't know if you were part of the one name club or not.
Oh,
Madonna,
no.
Cher, Nathaniel. Prince. No? Okay. You're in a little band called Tomorrow's End. And how long have you guys been around? I'll start with the pedestrian questions first. How long have you been around?
Well, we've been out, like we started our tour of like where we just started getting out, and right before our album, like we started recording it back in 2016. Was blessed to get to play in 22 states, got to go and workshop all the songs that we was recording. And then in 2019, we went and recorded 40 songs and have dropped 4 albums with 10 songs each for 40 songs that are available on all streaming networks and on our website, like if anybody wants a physical copy. So that's really the genesis was 2016. And now we're finally getting to do something with it. It was more, I would say, a practice run in 2016.
Cool. And then you had a lot of time to practice through 2020, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was where we was putting the finishing touches on the songs. Like if anybody checks out these songs, they will, and I always tell people to listen to them through headphones for the best experience, because they're really multi-layered tracks where there's totally different guitar parts most of the time, and left and right and synths and a little different weird stuff. And it's pretty eclectic if people will just give it a chance and listen with their ears. So
yeah, well, I'm going to get to the images behind you there in a minute.
Okay.
Because that's you guys in the band. But and for those that are listening and not watching on YouTube, he's got a picture of the band and they're all in masks and costumes. So I want to get to that in a minute. But I listened to your music first, and I was like, what's going on here? It took me a minute to understand the music. And then I went, you know what it reminded me of? And you probably never heard of this band because it's kind of obscure. It reminded me of this band called Ailstorm, not Hailstorm, Ailstorm. They're a Scottish pirate metal band.
okay.
But that's, I mean, that's what it kind of made me think of. Like, there's a hook to this. There's something more to this than just the music. It's a whole image and experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the plan, is to have it. I'm a very big like visual person. Like I don't go around just reading like novels and stuff like that very much. I'm a very visual person, like where if I see something and I hear it, it just impacts me more. So the more like we would get out and play in front of people, the more we would realize that people are usually visual, because people will like stream on Netflix, people stream on Hulu, people do all these streaming platforms with all the streaming services, and they're engaged visually. They're engaged with their ears, they're engaged in a lot of their senses. So we wanted to make sure that it's not only pleasing to the ears, but it's also multi-layered, to where if you see it, you're like, oh, okay, what does that mean? And you keep on digging. And all this is really just trying to get people back to scripture and learn to dig into it too, because we really believe like that's the basis for everything. And it shows you what right and wrong is. It shows you how to live, how to love. And if people will look at our music and dig in, well, now get into the Bible and dig in, and you'll never be let down.
So the music is the bait, the band is the hook, the image is the hook. And you know, it's all just to bring in and capture you essentially. We just came off a crabbing trip in the Bay Area, so everything's about fishing right now. Sorry.
Okay. No, I get it. And we're supposed to be fishers of men anyway, so that's good.
Hey, this guy ties it together. He knows what's up. What's going on with this neck brace that you're wearing here? What's that? What's the story behind that?
Okay. Well, it starts off. I just literally turned 36.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. My journey literally starts really at 17, though. When I was 17, I was not a Christian in any way. And this is going to tie into what Tomorrow's End is about, the neck brace, everything. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with bone cancer. I was not a Christian. I was the furthest thing away from a Christian, actually, in high school and stuff. And growing up, I'd been to churches. I'd, had friends that were supposed to be Christian and stuff, but nothing I saw in like churches or the churches I visited, and nothing I saw in my friends showed the love of Christ or showed necessarily anything the Bible said. It was just more people spoke stuff, but it would be like me telling you right now, I'm an apple tree, but all you see is oranges. You can tell somebody something all day long, but unless you live it and are, living it out in your life, it's not really going to make, sense or make a difference. So anyways, I was totally against it. And then I had this big tumor come up on my knee, and I was working out at the time, thought it was just a workout injury. And I went to the doctor. They said, well, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. It's just, swelling. So 2 weeks later, and it's like the size of a softball now. Wow. And I go back and they say, you might want to get that looked at. So they send me for an MRI.
That's what I'm here for, to get it looked at.
Yeah. And I told them the 2 weeks before, I was like, hey, it's really hurting. And it came out of nowhere and stuff. And they said, well, that happens. I said, okay. So 2 weeks later, I go back and they said, well, let's get an MRI. That looks a little too big. And I said, okay. So I go get an MRI, and then they tell me it's a tumor, but they can't tell if it's cancerous or anything like that. So like I said, we are out of Cleveland, Tennessee. There was no hospital that really specialized in that around here. So they sent me to UAB into Birmingham, Alabama, and they did a biopsy. And so it's 3 hours away. So we drive 3 hours, do the biopsy, patch me back up, send me home. As soon as we pulled into the driveway, and walked into the house, they call and say, well, it's cancerous. And that it's called osteosarcoma. And a lot of people don't live from this. And, your son very well might, he might die from this. And literally right after I was told this, and I was sitting on the couch with my grandmother on like the living room, and my parents was just, they was, really, torn apart from this news, and they was in the other room. And I remember sitting on the couch with my grandmother, and I literally started thinking, I have let other people turn me off to a perfect God. I've let, people that will never be perfect, and people that are going to be flawed, because people are, turn me off to a perfect message, a perfect God. And I accepted Jesus Christ into my heart that day. And I started realizing that we need to make sure we're not letting people turn us off to somebody who we will never match up to anyways. And that's just become kind of my mission ever since then, to try to, that's where Tomorrow's End really generates from, is the hope to try to reach people and show people that people will let you down every day, but Jesus Christ never will. And if you get into his word and stuff, there won't find any abnormalities or anything. Everything will make sense if you just, divide it correctly and all that, and it'll show you how to live, how to love. And so that was the start of my health issues, though. I'm cancer free, praise God. I've been about 17 years cancer free now. So all that is awesome. But I do have issues like you asked about the neck brace. All this is from like my chemotherapies. Since I had them at such an early age, and the ones I had 3 different ones, they just messed up like on the outside. Not saying I'm a good looking guy, but I look fine. But on the inside, like some of the organs and the bones and stuff, it's more degenerative and stuff like that. But that's all from the chemotherapy. So for the last 6 years, I've had spinal and cervical stenosis. My whole spinal cord's been getting pressed on. And the day I was diagnosed with that, my wife's the drummer, which we'll talk about in a little bit, the I character. And the day I was diagnosed with that, I said, you know what, I think we should go out, start touring with this, the band idea. And she was like, you was just diagnosed with a broken neck and stuff. And I was like, and you're going to eventually have to have surgery. And I said, yeah, but I'd be much more afraid not to be obedient. I just felt really called to do it. So we went and played the 22 states, went and recorded the albums. And now that we finally got that done, it was the perfect time. And I went in and for the surgery last month. And again, this is something I always try to tell people: God can heal. He could have healed me any day of the week, any day of the year for the last 6 years. But sometimes when we pray, just like Paul, when he prayed and he asked 3 times, sometimes the answer is no, but not for our, detriment, but to actually glorify him better. Sometimes when you go through things, you can be a bigger witness than if you just, don't go through it. So I always tell people that either way, whether God's answer is yes or no, he'll still get you through it if you seek him. And anyways, I went in for a 5-level fusion. They was going to do 4 levels from the front, 1 from the back. They do as many from the front because the back's a lot worse because they have to cut through a lot more muscle and it's just different. And so I get in there last month, they put me under, they get into my neck, and it's so bad from the front that they only could do 3 levels. He said, man, this is horrible. He said, this is really messed up. And so he just does the 3 levels from the front, sews me up, and says, I'm going to have to do now tomorrow a 2-level fusion from the back, which is going to be a lot worse. And I said, okay, send me for an MRI so he can get a brand new picture of everything. And he literally, about an hour or 2 later, comes into my hospital room as I'm sitting there trying to recover and trying to get my bearings. And he says, you got to see this. And I said, okay. He shows me a picture of his cell phone, or his cell phone, a picture on it. And it's my MRI and my spinal cord. And he said, you see this right here? And I mean, it just looks like, it's just a big black blur with some white, listen, right. I don't know the spine. I'm not a doctor. And I'm like, okay, yeah,
that's what I pay you for.
I'm like, I see it. What am I looking at? And he said, oh yeah. He says, this right here. He said, it's fixed. And I'm like, okay, what's fixed? He said, the 2 levels I was going to have to do tomorrow. He said, when I got in there, your neck was so bad. He said, I was going to have to do 2 levels from the back tomorrow. He said, it's why I only did 3 from the front. And he said, but look at this. And he said, this is literally, he said, I've never seen this before. He said, I had to look it up online, and there's only 1 case of this ever that he saw, like ever published in a medical magazine. He said, I had to look it up because I've never ran across it. He said, something happened between me fusing these 3 and your MRI. He said, and it's nothing I've done. He said, literally, he said something, he said, the good Lord's looking out for you. And I said, well, that's why I give all praise to Christ. And I said, I appreciate everything you did. He said, you're second, but I said, I give all praise to Christ. And so I didn't have to have the second surgery. It fixed itself after the 3, which he said, again, is medically just not how it works. And so I've just been telling people that, again, God will work in your life, and just seek him, praise him. And I was also not supposed to be able to even talk, or much less sing. And I'm already getting on people's nerves singing around the house. And so I've been, again,
the wife was like, yeah, he won't be able to talk.
Because I can be a talker and stuff. So, but yeah, so now she's getting a earful either way, either me talking or going around the house playing guitar and trying to warm up the vocal cords. So again, just extremely blessed and just happy that I can share this, because God still works in people's lives today, 100%. And he did in mine, and he can in anybody else's too. We just need to seek him and seek his way and not our ways,
Yeah. Well, you're looking a little like a Frankenstein over there. Oh, it's a bad DJ segue is what that is. Because he's got a song called Jesus Frankenstein, right?
Yeah, and before you play it, I can give a small synopsis of it.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, a Jesus Frankenstein, when people hear the title, sometimes it throws people off, and then sometimes people think, oh, what's kind of neat. I'll check it out. But either way, it gets reaction. And the point of that song is just that whenever we are, trying to live a Christian life, and we're trying to do what is right, a lot of times the world will look at you like a monster. And there's people in other countries who are trying to live, a Christian life, and some of them, they get killed, they get beheaded, they get all these things. But it seems like in America, or at least the parts, again, we've been blessed to play in 22 states, the places we've went. Sometimes it seems like people just, they're not as, I don't know, ready for that. Like, I guess, people to attack them and stuff. And it's like, man, Jesus said, they hated me first. They won't like you always either. And, we need to be prepared for that, and we need to embrace that, as opposed to, again, there's people in other countries getting killed for their faith. And then in America, a lot of times somebody says something on Twitter or Facebook and they're like, oh, and people start crying and, they can't handle it. And it's just saying, make sure that you're walking out your faith, living your faith, and that you understand the world might see you as a monster, but it doesn't matter. If Christ is with you, who can be against you? So that's really, it's just using that. And one thing that we try to do in our music is use everything. In Jesus' times, he used parables of farming and the parable of the 10 virgins and all that stuff, because it was things people could understand at the time. Well, we live in an entertainment age where people are invested in like comic book movies, superhero movies, sci-fi, all these different genres. So we're just trying to put a parable out there, a story that tells a bigger message, and that hopefully gets people to look at their lives and get back into the Bible and stuff. And also a Jesus Frankenstein is also just an evolution of the term a Jesus freak, which was in like 60s and 70s, and DC Talk did a song of it in the 90s. So like, of that concept. So this is kind of the evolution of that. They ain't just going to think you're a freak. They're literally going to think you're a monster for just doing what Christ told you to do.
Yeah. He summed it up, man.
He did.
I don't know what else I could say, but let's just play it, Aaron. It's Jesus Frankenstein from Tomorrow's End, Rock Salt MUZKAST Experience. On Rock Salt MUZKAST Experience, Aaron, Dave, no Patrick, because he's live on stage right now while we're recording this. But we've got Nathaniel, all the way from Cleveland, Tennessee. I didn't even know there was a Cleveland, Tennessee. He's in a little band called Tomorrow's End. And he's got
Tomorrow's End is going to put Cleveland, Tennessee on the map.
Yeah. Cleveland, who? Cleveland, Ohio? Never heard of it. Tennessee. That's where it's at. All right. He's got a big neck brace on. So if you're just viewing this now, go back and watch the first one, because Nathaniel explains everything. But you're in a band called Tomorrow's End, and you do a really interesting thing as far as you were talking about the image of the band, as well as you also have a series of videos on YouTube and some comic books, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. And what we try to be is, we call ourselves a camp, and people's like, what in the world's a camp? We consider ourselves more than a band. We consider ourselves a full Christian art music project, and we're just trying to be multimedia and try to impact people on multiple different levels. So what I mean is, a lot of people like comics, a lot of people like music, a lot of people like videos, and a lot of people like live shows, but not always do people like all four of those. So if you're trying to get a message about Christ out and trying to get people to think about things and to question their relationship with Christ, make sure they really got that, or if they've never had a relationship, make them question why don't they have that. We just want to make sure we put it out in many art forms as possible. So that's the reason it's multimedia and everything. And what everything means, like sometimes people can be turned off when they see this stuff. They're like, what is this? Is this all show, no go, as the saying goes? And I actually would say it's not a cocky thing or anything like that. I'm saying if they look into it, I think that they'll find that it's not just all show, that there's plenty of go. And what I mean by that is, if they look at the levels and stuff, there's always a meaning to everything. Like the characters behind me, one thing, like we give testimony and stuff, and like my name's Nathaniel and stuff, but when I'm on stage or play, it's always about the T character. And the reason for that is we all go, like there's X, I, T, S, and Q, and it's just a clever way of spelling exits with a question mark and then saying there's two exits in the end, life, death, heaven, and hell. Have you made your choice? Because if you haven't made a choice, you've made a choice anyways. So that's kind of the point of it. And we just don't ever want it to be about us per se. We give testimony, tell everything God's done for us, but it's not about us when we get on that stage. It's truly about the message and the story. So the X character has something people are going to consider it a COVID mask now, but when we started this, it was not. It was more like a biker mask and stuff, but it's just like Sub-Zero or something, like a ninja, right. Like it's got the over the mouth. And the point of that character is, we live in a world that doesn't always want you to talk about God, but we're supposed to be, speaking of God. And so it's saying, don't let the world silence you and stuff, and be aware of that. The next character, I, and it's something over her eyes, and it's saying the world doesn't want you to see God always, but we can see him if we choose to, like in our life and working in our lives, if we just open our eyes to him and his truth. The next character is T, which is the one I portray. and it's got a bandana over the ears, and it's saying we live in a world that doesn't want you to hear God. But then I paint a T on my face or a cross, and it's saying, but we as Christians are supposed to be the shining light in the world. Doesn't matter if the world wants you to hear God, because we can, and we can go spread it out to others. The next character, people think it's more of a Phantom of the Opera mask. It's over to like half the face, and it's the S character. And what that's about is we don't need to be two-faced. We don't need to live in both worlds. We need to pick a side. You can't live in, two worlds for long. And that's what that character is about, because so much hypocrisy and so many people that are trying to have one foot in, one foot out, turn so many people off to Christ. And people need to remember, sometimes the only testimony, the only Jesus Christ people ever will see is the one that we are living. And if they can't see it in our lives, why are they going to want what we say we have? So it's just saying, don't be a hypocrite, don't be two-faced, and make sure you're doing, what you're supposed to be doing according to scripture. And then the last one is the Q character. It's got a question mark in the head, and that's just reminding people it's your choice. Like, he's all the way covered up. He literally wears a bodysuit underneath, and then puts a mask, a mask that kind of looks like a Batman mask almost, or something. It's just an obscure mask. And the point is, it's to remind people that this is a question of salvation. This is a question of a relationship, eternity with Christ, and it's your choice. And remember that, because it's gonna, whether you make a choice or not, because I've met some people that say, I'll worry about that when I die. I mean, it's too late. Whether you make a choice now or don't, you're still making that choice. And it's just trying to wake people up to that. And these characters are, like I said, they're all in all the multimedia. So they are, of course, in the songs, and we actually have a magazine that explains all like 40 songs, and it's got a picture with all the lyrics and an explanation for each song, and goes into what each character means and all that. And all this will be free on the website as well here soon. It'll have all that information on there at tomorrowsend.com. And that's because there's no reason in putting it out if nobody can understand what you're doing. So it's the detailed, we call it the compendium, the codex for everything Tomorrow's End. And then we have, of course, the music, the 4 albums we've released that are on all streaming platforms. And also at tomorrowsend.com, you can stream all 40 songs, and the pictures are on there already right now if you want to see the pictures that go with them. But we also have the video serial. We are all like self-funded and stuff. None of us are rich or anything like that. We've just sold, like God's always made a way. Like, we've put stuff up for sale, we've sold it, we've raised money that way. We don't do Kickstarters or crowdfunding. Not that we think anything like that's bad or anything, but so many people are suspicious of sometimes Christian artists and stuff. We want to make sure we don't give anything for people to use against us to say they're just in it for the money. Like, we have a magazine, we have comics, we have CDs, and we have t-shirts and stuff like that. But all that is available on our .com. But that's just if people want to support us, they can do that. They can buy our merchandise, they get something in return. And so that's how we try to do it. But also, because it's about the message, all of our stuff is free. Again, unless somebody, gets digitized and we join the world of the Matrix, we can't give you a free digital t-shirt. But we can give you on our website. We have all the songs on there. The videos are on there. We are going to have the comic book literally on there where you can read it for free on the website, as well as we have a card game coming out later this year. We have a card game and even a board game, and all that stuff will be, even if you don't want to buy it, you can actually print it off the website eventually to where you can kind of cut it out and still have it. And all these things are kind of teaching mechanisms and stuff like that. But back to the videos, like I said, we don't have a, humongous budget or anything. So and all this stuff is, thematically themed, like visually, to kind of like something like what's old is new again. It's kind of in the style of old Hollywood and stuff like that. So they used to have old 40s and 50s movies called the Republic serials or video serials, movie serials. So we was like, well, we can't make a TV show, we can't make a movie, but they used to make these serials on the cheap, and we was like, I guess we could try that. So it's a throwback to the serials of the 40s and 50s. And Act 1 is already available for free on YouTube right now. It includes 7 videos of 7 songs, and they will actually be 21 out by the end of the year. And it's all a big overarching story. There's 4 acts. And if I'm going too fast, they can just, rewatch your program. And, because this
hit
is
the
a lot
pause
of
button,
but
take some notes, come back, hit it again.
But there will be 4 acts. So 21 videos that is going to be like a 2-hour, almost like a, a serial movie. And it all links up and it tells a story. And the that's the whole point of the videos. And then we have the comic books, which we have issue 1 and 2 out right now. You can get on the website, or here in a few weeks, if you don't want to purchase them, they will be for free to look at and read on either Instagram or our website or both. So they will both be available. And that takes the X, I, T, S, and Q characters, and it puts them in like a fantasy world. Because again, I said earlier that Jesus in his time period spoke in parables that people understand. He did a lot in farming, and he like gives up parables of things that the people would get. Well, most of the people I meet aren't farmers. Most of the people I meet are not, they might not relate per se to certain things like that. So what we try to do is, like I said, everybody streams like movies and entertainment, science fiction, superhero stuff. So we're just trying to put the message and the story within confines of things that people would, watch and stay entertained in, but not watered down either. Like one thing that I think people think usually when they see us is, man, this must be a very non-conservative Christian rock band. Look at them, man. They got a Jesus Frankenstein. They're wearing masks. They're doing all this stuff, and people's like, maybe that's kind of weird or questionable, but it's actually the opposite. If people look at it, they will see that this is really just trying to use this as a way to get people to open their eyes, open their ears, and get back into the Bible, because all this stuff is for just really one reason, for Jesus Christ. And the biggest thing about that is the two people we try to reach is, I guess our main goal is people that have been turned off from Christianity through like hypocrisy, and sometimes like even churches that are all about like money or certain things that the Bible says we ain't supposed to be about. So it's like, hey, if you've turned off Christ to them, like I did at 17 before I got cancer, take a second look, because if you look at Jesus Christ, you won't find nothing flawed. If you take a look at his word, you won't find any flaws. But if you take a look at the people, you always will. So it's anybody that's turned away Christ, we just say, please take a second look, and don't look at the people, look at the message, look at the word, look at his life. If you do that, you will never go wrong. And then we try to, on the flip side, getting people to take a second look at their life that already identifies Christian, because we just want you to say, hey, am I really doing what Paul says? He says, imitate me as I imitate Christ. Are we really imitating Christ in our daily lives, or are we doing what we want to do and, forsaking like what his commandments, what he says to do? And so we're just trying to tell people, make sure you take a second look at your life, because if you go around telling people, hey, I'm a Christian and stuff, and then they see you behind the alley, pummeling somebody, that's not going to give the message that you probably want to get across.
You love Jesus.
Yeah. So that's just kind of that's the two really sects of people that we're trying to reach. And we have more plans in the future, like soon as I heal up, which I totally believe, will be sooner than later. God's already blessed me so much. Right now, like I said, we got the 40 songs out on the 4 albums. We've got the 2 comic books out, with issue 3 coming out next month. We have the magazine, and we have the video serial on YouTube. We have the card game already on our .com, and we'll have the board game at the end of the year. Well, the next stage is we're putting together a show that will be like, if people go see it, it will literally engage all your senses pretty much. Like it's going to have, it'll be more than just a band playing. It'll be something, I guess, more theatrical and stuff, to where, of course, we wear the outfits and stuff, but it'll be more than that, like a little bit of pyro, a little bit of confetti that some people in the band don't like to clean up and stuff. But
hey, you told us about
whose great idea was it to get confetti cannons?
You told us about the costumes and all that.
Yes.
Who are the band members in those costumes currently?
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And good thing you said currently, because that's one thing we're always saying is it's not about the people, it's about the characters and what they represent. Again. Yeah. So, but yeah, currently right now, like in the videos and stuff, my brother actually portrays the Q character.
And where does he play?
Keyboard.
Okay.
And various other, anything that the song needs at the time. So
okay.
There's a lot of parts in these songs. I obviously play guitar and sing. My brother in Christ and awesome friend Tyler is the S character and plays the guitar, second guitar, and he plays solos as well and stuff. So I mean, that's why we don't say rhythm and lead, because we both play rhythm and lead. So it's really more just guitar too. My awesome friend Justin, who has been in the videos, he plays the bass, and I've known him since 7th grade. So which is a good segue into how I met my wife. I met her in 6th grade the year prior, and
oh wow,
that's when I met her. we didn't get together till after I was had the bone cancer and got healed and all that. So it took a little bit of wooing. Good, but
hey, hey, remember that time on the swing set?
Yeah,
good times.
Yes.
I met my wife when she was in 7th grade.
Oh, okay.
But she really wouldn't have anything to do with me until I came back to the Christian school she was at when I was a junior, and we started dating in our senior year. So it took some wooing on my part too.
Well, I mean, hey, persistence pays off, and it's I mean, I used to actually carry her books for her in 7th grade and stuff, but we was always just friends. And anyways, after I got bone cancer and I got saved and started just going around giving testimony and stuff, I got to meet her again and run into her. And we met, we got married, and she's actually the drummer. She's the I character, and she's my best friend. She's an awesome supporter. She couldn't really do any of this without her. I always say it's Christ and then my wife Haley, because she's been supportive. I've had a lot of medical issues, and sometimes especially when you're when you have all these medical issues and you're trying to do all these things, and they can seem strange at first. Hey, we're going to do a comic book. We're going to do videos. We're going to do this. And she's like, you also need your surgery. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to do all that. And
yeah, we'll pencil that in at some point. So, I'm very busy at the moment.
Yeah. So that can get overwhelming. And she's just an awesome supporter, and really all the group that I've been blessed to get to surround myself with is. And I just always say, don't be unevenly yoked. So if you're out there and you're looking for your significant other, do like the Bible says, try not to be unevenly yoked, because a good godly woman is the most important thing you can have, because it's going to keep you on track. And if there's anything we ever have to change in our own lives, you want to make sure you have a wife that will change too, because she sees what you're saying, as opposed to, having no barometer for right and wrong, which is always the Bible. So that's the members. And again, it's over the course of time, and in a few years, who knows, maybe it'll be a whole different lineup. You never know. But as of right now, that's the members of the band. And we just hope that people will see the message, try this stuff out. And one thing they'll find in all those 40 songs is there's so many different styles. One person asked me once what we sound like. That's why what you said I've never heard of the band you mentioned at the front, but I'm interested to check them out, because you said it kind of
Ailstorm.
Yeah, Ailstorm.
Ailstorm.
I'm interested
they're
to check
funny.
them out.
They're funny guys.
To check them out.
It's all about pirates, so all their songs are pirate related, and it's metal. And it's very funny. I just got a text, Aaron, that just during that time of the interview, Elon Musk has now started a new corporation called The Matrix, and they're making digital t-shirts. So congratulations, Nathaniel.
Yeah. Well, I just tell everybody again,
Elon another billion.
Yeah. I just tell people we'll give anything we can away, like digitally, for free. That's about the only thing we can is a digitized t-shirt. But yeah, if he's on that, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
We can add it to
it's coming. It's coming.
You talked about the comic books. I haven't been in comic books in many years. I used to read them. What are your favorite comic books, just to talk about, outside the music? Yeah.
I'm pulling a Patrick Rivers here.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a humongous Batman fan. I mean, I think anybody probably my age, and even like, I got into comic books because of my dad. He was actually a big comic book collector in the 80s. And so like, when I saw stuff like Daredevil and Frank Miller's Daredevil, Frank Miller's Batman and stuff like that, it got me really, I was like, man, this is really well wrote. So I was big into those, big into X-Men because of the cartoon of the 90s, big into Spider-Man. And then I got into, like pretty much everything, like just everything, Marvel and DC, pretty much. Most of all of it, I enjoy. I enjoy the movies. And
DC or Marvel, what's your preference?
If I had to pick, actually, I would pick DC. I think it's a wider variety. Like it's more, it's got more scope, and I think that's why it's so hard to put on screen, because everybody could be their own universe. Like the Flash has got a humongous Flash family. Green Lantern's like so many, space sectors, and Batman's got Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, all these different characters. And I think it's a wider variety. I love Marvel, really do, but I would say that DC is probably my favorite, just because of the wealth, the scope.
I have no faith in Warner Brothers to make this happen, but in a perfect world, Nathaniel, wouldn't a good Nightwing movie be just awesome right now?
I agree. Yeah, it would be. And so would a good Crisis on Infinite Earths movie where you had all the universes converged and stuff, like the 80s series, the comic book series.
Oh, I'd love an Injustice movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Injustice is a fantastic. Well, have you read the comic book?
Oh, no, I actually haven't checked it out.
Yeah, go check out they made a comic book based off the game.
Yeah, I did see it. I just never looked at it. But it's good.
Yeah, it's great. And I think I know there's an animated version of the story. I don't know what streaming service it's on, but I watched that.
HBO Max. I haven't watched it, but I did see that it was on there.
You got to watch
Max,
it.
yeah.
It's really good. It's really good.
I will check it out.
Yeah, Injustice. Come back another time because we've gone along a little long on this one, and we'll geek out over comic books and Star Trek, as I mentioned earlier.
Okay, cool.
Your song.
Oh, I'm not even
gonna pronounce
this one's all on you, brother. You get to announce this one.
Okay, awesome. This next song that you're about to hear is called Anil Hevaka. And that's just what a male to male says, like I love you in Hebrew. So it's like a male says to God, I love you. It's Anil Hevaka. And then in the chorus, you'll hear my wife say, Ohev et. And that's because a female to a male says Ohev et instead of Ohev to a male. I love you. And this song is just about saying, I love you to God. And it's saying, I love you, God. What do I need to do? And it's sometimes people make it more complicated. And this is probably going to sound strange coming from people that are doing all these complex things and strange parables to try to get one simple message across. But it really is simple. The simple thing of showing God you love him is simply do what he says. He says, if you love me, obey my commandments, if you love him, we're supposed to just do what he says, and that's really the thing. And the reason we chose the Hebrew phrase was because, and I don't know how it is where you guys are, but in Tennessee and stuff, and don't get me wrong, there's plenty of awesome God-fearing Christian people in this area, but there's also what we call sometimes churchism. And what I mean that is where there's things being taught and things being practiced that are not necessarily from the Bible. They're just from, because it plays into people's what they grew up, whether it's traditions or things like that. And the reason we chose Hebrew is because we've met a lot of people in our area sometimes who are like racist and stuff. And most of the people that we meet are, they're Caucasian, they're white and stuff. But then when somebody from a different nationality comes into their church or something, they have like a weird thing about them, but they're praising Christ, who is probably not white. He's, Hebrew, Jewish, whatever. And so we chose the Hebrew word because if people can realize, like his Hebrew name was Yeshua, or some people say Yehoshua, and it means, God saves or Yahweh saves. And the point is, if you realize your savior is a different nationality than you might want to rethink your racist views because, so that's the reason we chose that, and just try to remind people that, inside everybody bleeds red, and people need to know that, Christ, he was the perfect man. He was God in the flesh. And if people would realize that he's, a different nationality than you, it would take away that racism and those preconceived prejudices that people, sometimes carry with them from childhood or from wherever.
I've often thought that, the typical picture that we're given as kids of Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
as a white man with like brownish red hair.
Yeah.
I thought a long time ago, I went, he probably doesn't look like that.
Mm-hmm.
He probably doesn't look like that. That is definitely a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant version of Jesus. And if anything, I mean, he probably looked more like Bernie Sanders, right?
And yeah, I mean, again, but it's something that sometimes people see those images and those pictures and they think that's the gospel. And they're like, hey, no, Jesus was white and he was American. And guess what? He wasn't either. And so that's why I always tell people, make sure that, and that's something else we run into. Don't get me wrong. I really appreciate the country. We were very blessed in this country, man. We can go out, we can worship Christ. We're not persecuted like they are in other countries and stuff. So we're very blessed for that. But make sure that we never, put our patriotism above our spirituality, if that makes sense. And some people, we just want to make sure that if you put Christ first, you're not going to go wrong, and really figure out who Christ was. And he wasn't a white American. So,
well, I don't know how it is out in Tennessee, but I can tell you right now, if you're using California as a barometer, patriotism and spirituality are way low on that list.
Really?
Yeah. So it's sad. It really is. It's a sad case for everything, really.
Mm-hmm.
Nathaniel, thank you for coming on. We're going to do this song that I can't pronounce the name to, but
Anil
Thank you.
Hevaka.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll just record him saying that. And so whenever you play it, Aaron, you could just play that.
Yeah, Anil Hevaka.
And you're on Instagram, Facebook, tomorrowsend.com.
With a Z.
Yes. Yeah, with a Z.
With the Z.
I always tell
And
people
so-
that because sometimes people type in S and they can't find it. But yeah, it's Tomorrowz with a Z, then END.com. And again, all of our information is there. And also all of our content will be there shortly for free. If you only way that you would have to get something physical is if you just want to support us like financially, you can buy a product and you get something in return. And that's how we do it. But again, all the stuff will be free too. So you don't have to worry about that if you don't have it. So we just want you to get the message, check us out. And there's 40 songs with plenty of genres, plenty of styles within. So if you don't like the first couple songs, keep on going because hopefully within the 40 you'll find something you like.
Great.
Right on.
It's Tomorrow Ends on the Rock Salt Musecast Experience.